This is the SAU Report, a program featuring interviews with the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.
Welcome to this edition of SAU Report. I'm Maki Obata.
And I'm Mwachiro. Today we have Bruce Jernigan, an applied science major, and he's here to tell us more about Kwanzaa. Hi, Bruce.
Hello.
Can you first tell us about yourself and your role in the school?
Okay, my name is Bruce Jernigan. I'm a senior at Southern Arkansas University. I'm an applied science major, which is in social work and theater. Basically, I enjoy going to school here. I have a wife, Veronica Jernigan, and a son, Bruce Jamarcus Ty Jernigan II. And I hope to graduate in May. That's basically my intentions.
All right. What do you think about Kwanzaa? I mean, what is Kwanzaa, first of all?
Kwanzaa is a celebration of first fruits brought to us by Dr. Maulana Karange on December 26, 1966. Basically, what he was trying to do with this holiday was to introduce to Black Americans a mix of customs from Africa to give them a sense of civil rights during the civil rights movement, some type of sense of humanity, basically, a love for themselves as a people, and maybe through some type of holiday of their own in a celebration, they would have that kind of sense of, you know, self-reliance and self-pride. Basically, that's what Kwanzaa is. It's, you know, what I would call Black Americans type Christmas.
When is Kwanzaa celebrated?
Oh, it's celebrated during the 25th through the 1st, the 25th of December through the 1st of January, basically. 7 days.
What does Kwanzaa involve?
Kwanzaa involves basically, well, there are seven principles for those 7 days, which is Umoja, Kujijakalia, Ujima, Ujama, Nia, Kumba, and Amani. Each one of those have certain representations, such as Umoja is for unity. African Americans working together. Kujijakalia is for self-determination, which is African Americans speak to themselves instead of depending on others to do, you know, things for you. In other words, to be assertive. Ujima is like collective work and responsibility, working together and helping, share with each other. And Ujama is cooperative economics, African American people supporting each other economically. Nia is purpose, helping set specific goals and trying to accomplish those goals. Kumba is creativity, which is one of my favorites. And it's to think of new ways to make their community more beautiful. And Imani is faith. And it's to believe and have faith in self and their people.
What's the meaning of the word Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa's meaning basically is Swahili for first fruits. It's taken from the first fruit celebration that they have in certain African colonies.
Okay. Is Kwanzaa celebrated here in SAU?
Well, yes, by certain students, I would have to say yes, it is. Basically, I've seen more of the international students celebrated, some of the students from the northern region of America, such as Chicago and parts of Ohio and Detroit, areas such as those, which they have more coverage of Kwanzaa. They have more knowledge of Kwanzaa. Here, where we are in South Arkansas, you don't hear much of it. Maybe in Little Rock, Pine Bluff, where it's a stronger concentration of different types of people from different areas. then you would, see more Kwanzaa-related events. But here, they're making strides. We were scheduled to have a Kwanzaa event here, but due to the fact that it was close to exams and a lot of students were having to study, turn in, those last-minute papers and stuff to that effect, we weren't able to have it. But as time goes by, we hope to have more Kwanzaa-related
On that
events.
subject, why do you think it didn't have so much prominence here in the South?
Okay.
Well, your own opinion about it.
In my own opinion, I'd have to say because there's not much exposure. I mean, most of us, we have a hard enough time celebrating Christmas. I mean, it's been overrated to the point where more people spend money. It's about money. It's about giving, and receiving to the point where holidays such as Kwanzaa, where you make your gifts and you give it to someone, and the gifts are more practical. Christmas kind of outweighs it. And to me, if you weren't taught that as a child, it's going to be harder to instill in a, per se, 15-year-old, hey, let's celebrate Kwanzaa this year. What's Kwanzaa? What is that? What happened to Christmas? I like a Nintendo. I like a Sega. I want a CD player.
Yeah.
Not, I want to patch a quilt, or I like that beaded necklace you gave me. I mean, that's basically it. Christmas and its commercialism has outweighed Kwanzaa in this area, basically. But as time goes by with instruction at a younger level, I believe that it'll come out. It'll come out just like Christmas did.
What is the concept behind this celebration?
The concept behind the celebration basically is to unify first the family, then later the neighborhood, and hopefully the people as a whole. It starts out with the immediate family. In Africa and even in, our part of America where you used to harvest, you would have a planting time and then a reaping time. Back to you reap what you sow. During this reaping time, this harvesting time, this was the time that you would store up all the things that you had planted, the wheat and the rice and the corn and things to this effect. And you would have a big feast and a celebration after you've put away all that you needed for the winter. So therefore, it's basically like a long-running Thanksgiving. And it's basically thanking each other for being there for one another, being helpful to each other, reflecting on the past year, and basically the feasting. And a lot of people look forward to the feast.
The feasting, that is.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
You mentioned that Swahili is used in Kwanzaa. What other African elements apart from that use? I mean, maybe it's some Swahili words, but what else is used, other symbols to signify Kwanzaa?
Other symbols, I would have to say it would be, we'll say the red, black, and green. Like I said, the ideologies that Dr. Jernigan used were concepts of the African American culture, where he was trying to mix and match so that it would fit the Black American culture. Okay, the red, black, and green signifies the color. We have a unity flag such as, the red, black, and green. The red stands for the bloodshed that Black Americans have spilled over those years. We have the black, which represents our faces and the skin color of the people. And we have the green, which represents fertility of the ground, in other words, the harvest. So that in itself is taken from the concept of Africa.
Can you tell us about the principle of Kwanzaa?
The principles of Kwanzaa, to me, is basically, in a nutshell, the harvest and gathering. When I think about Kwanzaa, I think of the most practical and sensible and simplest way to celebrate a year. And since it falls on the first one, that's the last day, a new year, a new beginning. Maybe through some of the things that you have, looked back on in your year, you will say, I could lead a more productive new year. I'd have to say that the gathering, most times during that time of the year, you're basically out of work. Most of the plants around this area shut down during that time. That's Christmas and New Year's. Schools are out during that time, so the children will be home. In-laws and relatives from out of town will be there. Basically, it's a perfect time to gather around. I would feel a lot better getting a gift from my son that he made with his own hands than for him to buy me something from a store that, the next guy has. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think, that gathering, that family togetherness is what's missing, in society today. And that's the strong sense of why the holiday was even came about. It's not so much religious, because, religion discriminates. It discriminates on colors and cultures and leaves a lot of people out. But the fact that it's about gathering and reaping a harvest and everyone being able to participate and money not really being involved, but time and effort and personal talents and creativity and just unity, that's enough. That binds a family together, then the neighborhood, and then even, to me, the world. So.
You had once mentioned that you, instead of buying gifts for people during Christmas, you prepare or you create them because you're an artist. Mm-hmm. Are those some of the basic principles that are also involved, or someone who's celebrating Kwanzaa should try and emulate?
Oh yes, I'd have to say some of the activities that a person could use are such things as painting pictures, and I am an artist. I do paint Afrocentric type art, which is basically, strong in the market these days, because for so long you couldn't find Afrocentric art. And my mother, who is a lover of such arts, my sisters and brothers, which we all are grown with children now, different households, on Christmas, which is one of the holidays that I celebrate, I would give gifts, because there's some Christmases where you just don't have the money to buy gifts, and you'd like to give everyone something. I would get in my little room, get some paint, some paper, and I paint a picture. It may be family oriented. I may have my mother as a grandmother holding her grandkids. I may have my father and mother at their wedding. I may have me and my wife at our wedding. But I paint these pictures, and to get and give, for them to get and me to give a picture, and we have something in relation, it fills their hearts. You see what I'm saying? It helps out the whole situation. They're like, wow, this is beautiful, this is nice. And I think that's something that a lot of parents and kids would really, really enjoy. You don't have to be an artist. It's not hard to put beads together on a string or on some leather and make a nice necklace. I know a lot of children's parents would wear them, because why? Their child made them. A husband, come out there, he might carve little wood carvings. He gives it to his son. He'll cherish it for life. Mother bakes some cookies. It doesn't have to be art. To me, everything is art. But it doesn't have to be actually, hand painted or crafted or, just great. It's basically a celebration of life. And a living person is gonna do things. They're gonna create things, make things. And that's your mark. It's your mark with your people, your family. And that's something they'll carry on from generation to generation to generation. And you can't beat that with a stick.
Is there any tie between Kwanzaa and religion?
Ties between Kwanzaa and religion? Well, on a personal note, from me, I'd have to say no. The reason why I say no is because religion is basically man-made. If you agree with this or this, you go over here, this is your religion. If you like this or this, you shouldn't wear this, you should wear that, you go over here. With Kwanzaa, it doesn't matter. If you believe this or you believe that, it doesn't matter. It's whatever your family believes. It's whatever that household believes. And it's the respect that there are different beliefs. So that's how I feel on that note. It's not really religious. Religious puts restrictions on who can celebrate Kwanzaa. Kind of like, Christmas. Some would say only Christian people celebrate Christmas. I don't think so. Only Western world type people would celebrate Christmas. I don't feel that. It's open. It's open for everybody. Anybody willing to work all year long and have a paycheck at the end and reap the benefits of that paycheck. That's what Kwanzaa is, basically. It's after a hard day's work or a year-long work, this is a celebration. And you don't want to celebrate by yourself.
So you're saying Kwanzaa is also open not only to the black folk, but also
No, it's open.
anyone of any color, right?
Oh, anybody. It's just because a black man started it, that doesn't mean that everyone can't participate in it. I mean, it's the same with Easter, the same with the 4th of July, the same with New Year's. I mean, we can't decide what culture came up with those holidays, but boy, do we love to celebrate. And I believe that this was just one man's mark of trying to open up another holiday. He was concerned at the time about his people during that time. I mean, that was around the civil rights movement. So he was trying to get something, a celebration measure, something good out of all that turmoil. So now it's very open. Now it's very open to everyone. His people aren't struggling as much anymore. So now it's a time for celebration. We can look back on that. In other words, learning from our past to help us for the future.
You had mentioned earlier on that not so many people, maybe especially the youth, are aware about Kwanzaa. What can be done to increase the awareness of Kwanzaa in the area, or as a whole to the entire youth?
Okay, I mean, you don't have to start out small. Basically, saying we have to start out small is limiting ourselves. But if you must, start out small. I mean, one Christmas that we're all used to celebrating, one Christmas, say, hey, this year we're gonna make each other gifts. In my family, we exchange names. And whoever's name you get, you buy them a gift. This year, try making a gift. Whatever it is. It could be a quilt, it could be a calendar, it could be a day planner. Make them a gift. I mean, it's nothing to buy some little sparkly glue and make them a little picture. It's nothing to buy some stencil and draw it on some wood and paint it. It's not hard at all. I mean, children do little activities in school all the time with the little rice or the macaroni. Make something, a wall hanging, anything to that effect. Mark the calendar off. Say, hey, we're gonna celebrate Kwanzaa, bam, 25th. You can even still celebrate Christmas. And then bam, kids will love it. 7 days of more stuff, they'll love it. They'll eat that up. So, I mean, the kids won't be the problem. It's just basically the parents saying, we'll try that. And like I said, simple is sometimes better. That's a better routine, and it's not cheap, it's thrifty. I choose to call it thrifty. It's thrifty, and it's efficient, cost efficient.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that word. Yes.
What are you going to do this Kwanzaa, the coming Kwanzaa?
This Kwanzaa, like I said, me and my family, my parents are, older, and they're used to the Christmas. They played Santa Claus for many years. We were probably 13, 14 before we knew, before we did know it was a Santa Claus. But they were good. Me, myself, I'm gonna have to paint. I mean, due to school and, our car and you know, household things. We just moved, so I'm gonna have to paint. I'm gonna have to paint. And, you know, I have little beads to make necklaces and things to that effect. Most of my young nieces and my son, they like little rings and stuff to that effect. So I will make things. And cooking, that's another thing. Every household in my family brings food. You know, the fasting and things to that effect, my mother is into that sort of thing. You know, it's kind of hard for us to quit eating sometimes.
7 days.
But, basically, we're gonna put our foot down on it and go ahead and celebrate it. Go ahead and celebrate it. Like I said, we're starting, and we're basically challenging, you know, other families to start. Just start off small if you must. Just try it, see if you like it.
Are you going to introduce your child to Kwanzaa and its...
Most definitely. Most definitely. I plan on it because he's 3 years old. First couple of Christmases, he won't remember them. It's basically like a birthday party. But this one, I think he's, you know, mature enough, developed enough that he'll actually remember it. And like I said, he'll love something that lasts 7 days, you know, a week long of festivities and things to do, coming to see grandma and grandpa and his nieces. I mean, not his nieces, but his cousins. And I think that would be nice. And my family, they should be pretty much well equipped and ready to do so. We're trying to get away from, you know, the traditional everyday same old, same old. We're one of those go-getters, you know, the movers and shakers, the try anything once people.
Rebels.
Yes, yes indeed.
And how is the participation from SAU student body?
Participation from the SAU student body, I think they're basically open. I mean, SAU is mixed with a lot of different people from a lot of different cultures and backgrounds. I think they're open, but because they're students, they're waiting for the school to initiate, I think. And if the school initiates it, I think they might go along with it. I mean, a lot of people are used to strict, you know, discipline. You have a lot of freshmen that are coming out of high school, and they're used to being told, this is where you need to be at this time, and you need to do this. So if they see a program or something, I think they'll be open to go there. It's just going to take the initiation of, I'll say, seniors and juniors who've been here for a while, who may be interested in learning or helping others to learn about Kwanzaa. We have multicultural services with Cletus Stewart and Project PAL, Upper Bound, people like that, to just say, hey, we're going to get together and do something. Some of the student organizations, you got Greeks here, we got, you know, different fraternities and sororities that might want to get involved. And I think that way, the student body, you know, same thing, we're all big kids. Once they get accustomed to it, they'll be willing and ready. Next semester fall around, it'll be a little bit more participation until eventually you know this is going to happen here at SAU. That's what I think.
Okay. Which of the 7 elements do you find you hold, you know,
Dearest
goes
to me,
deep into your heart?
I'd have to say creativity. I mean, I hate to talk about religion, but in my upbringing, we have a creator. And I think the most special gift that he could give anybody is the gift to create. And if you could write a poem about your son that he could memorize, or even write a prayer that he could pray before he eats or go to sleep, and carry that on from generation to generation, you always have a part in his life. You always have a part throughout your lineage. If you could paint a picture that carries on throughout generations and generations to come, that would hold dear, I believe. And that's the truest form of power to me, creativity.
Well, we have to catch you short there. We appreciate you coming onto this program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mwachiro.
I'm Maki Obata.
Thank you for watching.
The SAU Report is a production of broadcast journalism students in the Department of Theater and Mass Communication at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.